Thanks, Lance. So we've got a couple other folks on here. Dick Orender, who is the C15 verification prime. He's here to keep me straight on any technical issues. And we also have Jamie Gibson, who is the sales engineering VP. And we're going to be talking a little bit about call trust at the end of this discussion. And Jamie is one of our experts on that. Before I get started, I've got a couple of notes here on things that are not on the slides. One, this COVID thing is affecting all of us so much. You can tell I'm working from home. I have not been in the office since March. The entire C15 team, our support team, none of them have been in the office. Fortunately, no one has been affected by COVID yet. Our design and verification teams are going in the office as needed, and they haven't been affected yet. So, so far we're surviving it, and really hope that all of our customers are getting by too. We worry about you guys. We had an outage on a C15 this week, and one of the problems on the recovery was that they had a 6T10 that had been sitting on a shelf for many years. When I go out and do webinars, or excuse me, when I go out and do user group meetings, one of the things I always point out is it's a really good idea to exercise your spare packs periodically. You know that they're good. There's firmware on those that may be updated if it hasn't been used in a while. So we always recommend that you cycle your spare 6T03s, 6T14, 6T03s through periodically. If you got any questions about how to do that, just call the technical support guys. They'll be glad to help you. That's 833-RIBBON-1, express routing code 1033. Another support question I occasionally get is people, when they want to escalate a case or they want to go to emergency recovery, if you have an outage and you go to 833-RIBBON-1 and you go to the ER line, they will call through to one of the support engineers, and we will drop whatever we're doing to handle an emergency outage. So that's the way to get there. And one other thing is filters on our core module as well as our port modules. Those need to be changed. We're doing a lot better with it now. For a while, we were getting a lot of calls with people having cards that were overheating or failing prematurely. And it's a really good idea to make sure that those filters are clean. Some of them are getting a little bit old. They can be replaced. So if you need new filters, talk to your sales prime. They'll be able to help you out there. All right, let me get started here. Go to my next slide. So regulatory updates. Lots of things going on these days. The FCC has come out with this order for the National Suicide Prevention Hotline, which is to replace this 800 number with 988. The deadline for that is July 2022, and that can be done on a C15 with just a translations change. You can go ahead and do it. My understanding is you could go ahead and do it now. If you have questions about how to do that, you can call the support guys. They'll help you out. If you've got something that's more complicated, you can talk to your sales prime and buy a block of DBE hours, and they'll help you get that configured also. Kerry's Law, Ray-Baum's Act, I've mentioned these in webinars for a couple of years now. Kerry's Law became in effect this year, which is says that the subscribers have to be able to dial 911 without an access code. There's also a new wrinkle this year, which is the on-site notification of who dialed 911. So, for example, if you've got a hotel room and someone in a room dials 911, there should be a notification to the front office of that a 911 call is dialed from that facility. The way we manage that is there's a new functionality on the C15 and the AP Max called MLTS Notify, Multi-Line Telephone System Notify. And if we detect that someone dialed 911 and they're in in this group. They have this capability on the switch. The AP Max we will notify the AP Max through an AIN trigger. The AP Max will notify whoever subscribed to this through an email. That's available in Release 16 with Patch Bundle 3, and it's also available in Release 17. Another piece of this Kerry's Law is the Ray-Baum Act, and that requires that there be a dispatchable location for wired devices, and the PSAP knows what that is. Well, the C15 doesn't know anything about the physical location of devices. However, your billing system does. So we've spoken with Innovative Systems on the AP Max. Within the back office, within the Elation type stuff, you can and you need to have a location that is dispatchable associated with that phone number that's provided to the PSAP. So there's no change on C15 required for this, but it is a responsibility that telcos have. The next big thing, and I've spoken about stir shaking for several years now, nuisance call mitigation is becoming a huge topic, and we're going to talk about this a bit more at the end. Every year there are updates to what the requirements are. I'm going to look at the bottom of this slide here. The requirement now covers all voice service providers, including over-the-top providers. For small rural carriers, and small in this case is less than 100,000 subscribers, so I'm sure everybody on here falls into that category. They've extended the deadline to June 30th of 2023. And there's not a requirement yet for TDM, but we're trying to figure out how we can handle a TDM call. What's a reasonable way to do it? And it's not just a ribbon solution. This needs to be adopted industry-wide. So we're considering options to do that, and starting to work with others to see if we can figure out what's the way to solve that part of the problem. There's also a requirement that that traceback be provided, and when we talk about Release 17, I'll show you what we've done for that. So here's our C15 lifecycle management. Release 16 is going to be retired at the end of this year. It's been out for 2 years now. Release 17 went GA, Release 16 retires at the end of next year. So 15 is retiring at the end of this year. Release 17 went generally available on September 18th of this year. So we're already doing upgrades. It's available to have your upgrades scheduled, and we're working on Release 18 at this point. Release 16, let me compliment all the folks that have, or thank all the folks that have deployed that. In the year since it became generally available, 266 sites upgraded to Release 16. And we had, working with our software delivery group, there was 100% success rate in those upgrades. There were no upgrades were backed out of. So that was very gratifying to see that our upgrades are that reliable. And looking forward to seeing Release 17 roll out at a similar pace. So Rel 17, here's our plan of record. Again, it went GA in September of this year. There are 35 sites already in service. I expect that by the end of this year, we will have over 70 sites in service. So Release 17 contains the following items. The 6003BA, which is used in our port module, due to component availability issue, we had to make some hardware design changes to it. And it now uses bits timing instead of what we used before, which is timing over Ethernet. 6003BAs will be used in all new deployments from here forward. And if you have to replace an AA with a BA, which we don't expect anybody to need to for quite a while for a repair and return perspective, but you can mix AAs and BAs in the same system and in the same port module. The only requirement is that a BA has to have a bits timing source, and in software there's a configuration to tell the system which one it is. Has the exact same functionality as an AA, the only difference is the timing source. In Rel 16, we did our initial development of Stir Shaken. In Rel 17, what we have added is the rig ID, which is generated from the C15. In Rel 16, we relied on it coming from a PSX, and that helps to facilitate the traceback requirement for Stir Shaken. MLTS Notify, I've already mentioned that. In Rel 16, there was a patch to facilitate this. In Rel 17, it just comes inherent in the system. This capability is provided from the AP Max. You can contact your ribbon salespeople to get signed up for this, and it will be delivered from Innovative Systems. Every year we do, in C15, we like to do interop with as many of the ribbon suite of products as we can. And this year, one of the things we worked on was the SWE SBC and EdgeMark interactions. We worked with SWE as a service, which is to say it wasn't based on one of our servers in our lab. It was based in the cloud, and also PSX as a service. We introduced a new call history server this year, and this is a new server from Contron. The previous servers we'd run out of those, so we've got a new one. And we worked really hard this year to make this one customer installable. Dick Ornder, who's our verification prime, he worked a lot on this. He's put together a guide for installation. If somebody buys a new server, he will provide that guide and some software that goes onto it. But our goal was to make this much more easy to install than what we had before, so no installer is needed. You get this, we send it to you, and with the guide you should be able to, in a few hours, get this up and running. Most of the rest of the items we have on here are things that customers have requested. Every year when I do these webinars, when I go out and do user group meetings, I always let people know if you've got content you would like us to consider doing, send me an email. I'm at lking@rbbn.com, and I take all those emails, I meet with the team, and we consider what are the things that that we can implement that we think are the most useful.
Hey Lee, this is Lance real quick. I thought I'd interject since you just covered the Release 17 slide. I thought I'd like to mention, hey, if you've already upgraded to Release 17, or if you plan to do so by the end of this year, if you put your name in the chat at the bottom right, we'll send you a ribbon branded 20-ounce tumbler. So if you've already done so, or like I said, plan to do so by the end of the year, be the first person to put your name there in the chat, and we'll send that out to you as soon as we can.
All right, thanks, Lance. Lance, we should send one of those to Dick Ornder. He's upgraded, I don't know, about 10 labs, and been running Rel 17 since early August.
Consider it done, Dick. I'll send you one.
Okay, so continuing with Rel 17, plan of record. We added the ability to indicate which operating system our call history server is using. We use that because occasionally we query the field to see what's going on. If there's upgrades to Red Hat Linux we want to roll out, things like that. So this allows us to tell what version of the OS your call history server is using. That's more for us than it is for customers. These other items, PRI call limit for alternate routing, secondary routes, ability to, well, those are customer requests. We had a clarification in our documentation about SIP trunk groups only work with UDP. Some debug enhancements here on dumping call registers. One of the things that we've been doing for many releases now is elevating prompts to the resident level, so you don't have to go into any particular overlay. They're just there and available at all times. So we've continued to do that kind of activity. And that's the content of Rel 17. Like I said, you can schedule it now. There's about 35 sites already running it, and hopefully by the end of the year we'll have about twice that many.
Hey,
Rel 8, yes.
Thought I'd just interrupt real quick. Just want to say a quick congratulations to Mike Grafton over at McDonough Telephone Cooperative. He won the tumbler.
Okay, congratulations, Mike. So we've already started on release 18, and it's going to go generally available in Q4 of next year, the same cadence we've been using for the last several releases. We will be doing Call Trust in there, and Call Trust is available today. I'm sure there's going to be enhancements that we put into release 18, so there's infrastructure for it today. I'll talk about that in a few minutes. These other items on here, SIP header to support optimized media routing, improved handling multiple bind SIP lines in call park, improved handling of caller ID with voicemail and AP Max, unattended user transfers. Those are all customer requests that we've gotten in the last year or two, and we're going to work those into, our intent is to work those into release 18. Again, if anybody has content that they would like for us to consider, let me know. So let's talk about robocall mitigation, nuisance call mitigation. I've already mentioned that they've granted a 2-year extension for small operators. There's not a mandate for TDM networks yet. I would not be surprised if there is one. We're thinking about ways to basically to do attestation via an ISUP, a component in an ISUP message. So we're pondering what we can do with that. And the bottom line is, even though they've extended this deadline out, it's not a get out of jail free card. You still have to be taking actions to mitigate nuisance calls within your network. What Ribbon is doing to address that problem is we have Call Trust, which is not just a product, it's a solution, it's a whole suite of products. So here's a view of all the different products. We've got the C15 working with an SBC, working with PSX. You have Identity Hub, which provides uses various databases and input from some of these interfaces on here to provide a score on how reliable we believe that call is, and I'll show you how that works on the next slides. We are introducing analytics. That's planned to come out for C15 in Q1 of next year. It's already available from the SBC, but the plan is that analytics will be able to pull data from a C15 call history server and then use that to provide some intelligence and determine calling patterns to indicate who are bad actors within the network. You've got the secure telephony identity, which manages the certificates for Star Shaken. And then we've got input into Identity Hub comes from databases, from analytics, from anything we can to help make more intelligent decisions on who are the bad actors in the network. Here's an example of how this would work. So a few weeks ago, we did a webinar on, we did the Rural Market Perspectives webinar, and there was a demo at the end of this, and these are the slides from that demo. So if anybody didn't attend that, this is what we have to offer, and this is available, like I said, this is available today in Rel 17. It's available from the AP Max. It's orderable today. So let's say, in this example, Mr. Rogers calls into a C15 from an ISUP trunk. C15 takes that call, launches a AIN query up to the AP Max, which then launches a query to Identity Hub, and Identity Hub returns a score of 10, indicating it's a low probability that this is a nuisance call. That's passed back to the AP Max, and the AP Max then says, okay, we're going to deliver that call. So it uses calling name, gets the name of the caller, and delivers that to Grandma, and Grandma's happy because she trusts Mr. Rogers, and all is well. Our next example is someone from the WhatNow group calls Grandma. Same call flow that we talked about just a minute ago, except this time Identity Hub returns a score of 50, indicating that we're not quite sure we trust WhatNow Group. But it's not so bad that we're going to block the call. So what we do is pass that through to Grandma in the CNAME field, and it will say spam likely, and at that point Grandma can decide whether she wants to answer that call or not. And then the last example here is a nuisance call from Money for You. Same call flow, except Identity Hub returns a score of 90, indicating that this is a very high probability that this is a nuisance call. So based on the way the AP Max is configured, it will make a decision to as to how to treat this call, send it to voicemail, voice captcha, or block the call. So any of those are configurable. The way this works is the AP Max had a terminating call feature, terminating call manager before. This is built on the same structure that terminating call manager was done. It has similar call treatments, but what it does is it incorporates the information from Identity Hub. So it basically provides a lot more capability, a lot more nuanced in the way calls are handled to the structure that was already existing with terminating call manager. So that's what we've got going on right now. That's what we're doing with C15. Again, here's the screen has my email address. If anybody's got any questions about any of this, or if you've got requests for content, let me know. And Lance, before I turn it back to you, Jamie Gibson, are you there? And is there anything you'd like to add regarding call trust? Yep, maybe Jamie's is not there yet. So Lance, I'll turn it back to you.
Thanks, Lee. Yeah, so we had a few people chat in some questions. I believe Elizabeth is handling those. Elizabeth, I don't know if any of those we want to ask verbally. If you have any things you'd like to share with the audience there, I'll give you a minute to respond to that.
Yeah, I know Dick Orender's on here. You're helping fill some of the questions too, so I'm sure I've missed a couple. So can you, Dick, if you have some?
Sure. Lee, I sent two to you in chat, but I'll just go ahead and read out the two that I sent to you. The first question, the first question was about the MLTS, and I think you may have vaguely referred to this. It says, does the MLTS notify feature need to be purchased on the AP Max?
Yes, it does.
Okay. And the second one was someone asking if we have the older call history server, what will happen with that product, and is it supported anymore?
Yes. So servers, over time, servers become manufacturer discontinued. The older servers are still supported. They're perfectly viable. They serve the exact same function as the new one. If you've got one and it's working, then you need not do anything. If you've got one and it's not working, then it's still supported.
That's all I had, Lee. Thanks.
Okay. Thanks, Dick.
Okay. There was someone had mentioned, to clarify what PSX stands for. That is Policy Server. So
yes.
For anybody else who might not have known that. And I did see just one more come in. And another quick thing, yes, we will be sending out a link following today's presentation later this afternoon, a link to the replay of everything Lee was discussing here, as well as a copy of the slides. So you can expect those in your inbox later today. But the other question that just came through, Lee, was, is the Contron call history server a hardware appliance or virtual appliance?
So that's a good question. It is a hardware appliance. We've had this question numerous times in the past, and the architecture of the way we design the system requires that it be an on-prem hardware appliance, and the reason for that is from the 6T10 off of one of our Ethernet ports, we are reflecting every message across a link to that call history server. Those messages are routable. If they went out in the network, the network would try to act upon them, and we don't want that to happen. So we have to have a closed system, and the way we do that is we send them to our call history server, which is just connected to the 6T10 with an Ethernet cable. That keeps them from getting out in the network and causing any mischief. The way I like to think of the call history server is it's basically just caching all of those messages. It's storing all of them. Anything that you want to do with it beyond that, whether it's looking at the files, the messages, looking at the traces in there, using Wireshark, hooking it up with analytics, where an analytics engine will pull the data from it and parse it, and all that stuff is done, can be done remotely, but we need that system to be closed so that those messages don't get out into the network a second time.
Okay, very good. Had another question come in, actually a couple more, but is there a cheat sheet or a best practice guide on how to interpret results in a call history trace?
We've provided a little bit of information on that. They're Wireshark traces, and they use just normal off-the-shelf Wireshark. When we first introduced it, there were some modifications that we made to Wireshark to support the types of messages that we were putting in there. So any Wireshark expertise allows you to look at those messages and interpret them. If you've got questions, you can call our support team, and they'll be glad to help you look at it. It's not at all uncommon for people to say, hey, we had a call that failed yesterday in this way. Here's our Wireshark trace. Can you help me look at it? And then we will do our best to help you understand what it takes to look at those messages. The other way to look at it is via analytics. So a couple of years ago, we were working with Cordell, which has been sold now to, I think, Nextech, and they would pull the data from our call history server and provide trends and analytics. It wasn't particularly for debugging a specific call, but it was looking for more metadata type thing, and that's what we expect that Ribbon Analytics will be doing when it's available in Q1.
Great, thanks for that, Lee. And someone else had asked if the call history server on older servers continue to be developed or updated if necessary, and the answer was new types of traces or methods to search files will continue to be supported on the older server.
Yeah, we're not doing any changes to the call history server, so the things that the call history servers that you already have do the exact same function of the new one. It's just a different box.
Okay, very good. Jamie, I believe, is on now and perhaps answering one of these other questions. Jamie, do you have a minute to share that question?
Sure, yeah. So a question came in around the AP Max controlling stir, shake, and call rejection control. So we want to separate two different things. So stir shaken is only applicable to SIP calls coming into your C15 through the SBC, and certainly will be authenticated, verified through either our Identity Hub platform, which offers stir shaken as a service, or via an on-prem SDI server. Where the AP Max comes in is related to the robocall mitigation. This can be deployed in conjunction with stir shaken, or even if stir shaken is not available, it can be deployed on an ISIP trunk, as Lee was talking about on the call flows. In that case, the AP Max gets the fraud score or the nuisance score from the Identity Hub platform, and based on provisionable thresholds in the AP Max, it is the AP Max that makes the decision what do we do with that call. And it responds to that AIN query from the C15 to either forward it to an IVR to play a voice captcha, forward it to voicemail, block the call, or whatever. In terms of licensing on the AP Max, which I think was the other part of that question, if you already have Terminating Call Manager purchased on your AP Max, there is no additional licensing required on the AP Max. All you have to do is subscribe to the Identity Hub service from Ribbon, and we'll be glad to provide pricing for customers on that subscription service. If you don't have Terminating Call Manager purchased on your AP Max, then that's just a feature add that we can provide you as well, and we can get you pricing on that.
There is a software update required for the AP Max to support Call Trust.
A good point,
and
yep.
If, as Jamie said, there's no charge for it, if you are under support on the AP Max and you buy this, then Innovative will apply that software load to your AP Max.
Thanks. All right, guys. Well, there was just one last thing. Someone had asked about skipping releases, such as going from release 15 to release 17. And so as you can skip 2 releases. So going from...
You can go from 15 to 17. You can't go from 14 to 17. That will be skipping 3. So yes, you can always skip 2.
Perfect. Okay, well, thanks everyone for your participation and your questions. Like I mentioned before, there will be an email later this afternoon with a link to the replay of everything you've heard here today, as well as a copy of the slides. So look for that. If you think of questions later, you can always, find us on ribbon.com or ribboncommunications.com. Plenty of ways to contact us. Lee has his information there on the screen. Elizabeth had put her information in the chat. So, take note of that if you don't have it already, and reach out to them should you have further questions. And I guess that's all I have for now. I appreciate everyone's attendance. Thank you, Lee. Thank you, Elizabeth, Jamie, Dick. Appreciate all of you on today. And we will see you next time.
All right. Thank you, Lance.
Take care.
All right. Goodbye.